Even better.
Unsyndicated presents What the Puck with Sean Baligian.
Glad you could join us. He's Mike. I'm Sean. This has been hockey glory for guys like us lately, because number one, the Four Nations, and we're going to be predominantly speaking about that. I make no mistake about that. But the best time of year, starting with the MHSAA playoffs as well. Action really, Mike, in full swing now. So that's pretty stinking cool as well.
And we're going to get to our first game, tomorrow?
Yes.
Out there in Novi?
Yes, that's exactly it. That's why, for those of you, why are we doing this right now? Because Mike and I are going to be at Novi Northville. And no disrespect to Brighton and Celine, but the second that game is over, I'm racing home to watch US-Canada tomorrow. Probably more than 4.4 million. That was the number last Saturday. Mike, I'm guessing though this will be more than 4.4 million.
They may double it, Sean, just because of the amount of coverage on social media, and that average person, no offense, housewife, or someone that's not a hockey fan that heard about this game and how great it was, they're going to be tuning in too.
Yep. No doubt about it. Always like to give the shout out. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll get our thoughts on the game, and it is legitimately turned into a soap opera for sports fans. I almost said sports opera for men, and I don't want to disrespect all our female viewers out there. They're looking forward to this as much as we are. But Mike, legitimately, it's turned into a soap opera for sports fans. I mean, some of the stuff is just so silly. It's funny, but it adds to this. Tom in London, good evening, fellas. Good evening, Tom. Dave, the E before the grand finale. Henry, appreciate you jumping in and tapping in. What's up? Tom said Canada is shut down for the game tomorrow. People are coming out of their holes for hockey now, and I love every second of it. Now, Mike, I was telling my buddy Neil Rule this the other day. I am not one of those delusional human beings. And I don't think you are. And I'm interested to get your take. When we were Eric, what's up? When we were kids, I remember that rather infamous Sports Illustrated cover that said, "Why hockey is hot and the NBA is not." And I don't know if you have any recollection of this, but, there was Gretzky, and this was on the heels of, the greatest Stanley Cup championship ever in 1994 because it involved the Rangers, all of that stuff, okay? And even then, I wasn't idealistic enough to think, wow, things are really coming around. I'm convinced that hockey has its place. I'm convinced it's not going to get much bigger than it already is. And part of it is we as human beings are incredibly provincial and stubborn. There are certain people that even if they like the game, aren't going to really like the game because they're not supposed to like the game and things like that. And Mike, does that mean that the game can't grow? No, it doesn't mean that. But in terms of becoming something that we all long it to be, I don't know about you. I gave that crap up a long, long time ago.
Well, first of all, Sean, I got to say it should have been the Devils in '94 and not the Rangers.
I'm not going to
argue. But with that, just in my opinion, me and you have had this conversation forever, it seems. I think hockey's right where I want it to be, Sean. We have this conversation, I think, every time we get together with people, and we look back at the times that me and you had a ton of food on the table at my house because it was a celebration that there was one stinking hockey game on.
True story. Right? True story.
And now we have any game that we want to watch anywhere. I could be in my car. I can watch it on my phone. I could be at the bar. The bar is going to have it. Everyone's got this. To me, that's where I wanted hockey to be, where I could have it anywhere I wanted. I remember the day, and this is a playoff game, Sean, looking for a Devils playoff game. And I traveled all around the city of Plymouth to finally find one place. And I got there about the end of the third period. No more do we have to do that. It is where it is. And I think we should just be happy with it. Bettman has made this $1 billion organization, made a lot of money to the rich guys over there, and brought us what we want, hockey wherever we want it.
Yep. And you know what? I'm fine with that. And we were just telling the story yesterday. It could be a random Tuesday night. And if they said, hey, Sports Channel America, the Hartford Whalers are hosting the Washington Capitals, we were all in. We were all in. That was the greatest day ever. I didn't give two craps who was on, what was on. We were all in. Henry said going to an OHL game the day after the championship game. Gosh, I love the O.
Nice.
Let us know where you're going. Let us know where you're going. Eric said, should we boo the Canadian anthem? No, 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 no. It's pathetic. I'm glad that so many Canadian players came out and spoke against it. It is it's pathetic. I want no part of that crap. None. Zero, zilch, nada. I can't say that any better, Mike. If you want to add something to that, by all means, be my guest.
Well, there's one thing you'll hear me say a lot, Sean, is humans are stupid and they don't learn. If you can't watch what happened in Montreal, and that was an electric atmosphere, Sean, you were absolutely right when you said there was no better place for it. I've heard a lot of people say that was the perfect environment. But that booing created what happened in that game. It really did. It came from that. These boys were going to stand up for theirs. So if that's what people in Boston want to do because they didn't learn and see what had happened, go ahead. But I'm with you. I want no part of it. It just sit there. You don't have to say anything. I don't care if you stand. Booing's just cheap.
Austin said, good evening, guys. Hate to say it, but with the Americans banged up and Makar back, I think the Canadians might win the rematch. You already stole some of my thunder. I firmly believe this is going to be 2010 redo, Mike. I do. For people out there who aren't familiar, the U.S. beat Canada in the prelims 5-3. Oh, by the way, if you remember, in Vancouver, that's where the Olympics were. And then the gold medal game came around, and we all know what happened there. The USA had to scratch and crawl and score late to tie the game, and then Sidney Crosby scored the golden goal in 2010. Mike, listen, if the United States won the game, would my jaw drop? No, not by any stretch of the imagination, because there's a lot to like about this American squad. And something you and I touched about for weeks now is the goaltending edge, and it's there and it's real. And I think that's it. Connor Hellebuck knows in the back of his head what everybody thinks about him and his ability in big games. But with that being said, I think Canada exacts their revenge in Boston.
The big difference from 2010 is Brian Rafalski's not going to be on the ice for getting to cover Sidney Crosby, but I won't go there. But I'm in probably the boat that you're in, and a lot of people are in. I just don't know about the health of this team, and the U.S. team's going to have to be 100% to withstand what is coming. And that is why when you look at the MVP odds, it's Connor Hellebuck and then half of Team Canada, right?
Yeah.
Crosby, McKinnon, McDavid, that because for the U.S. to win, this is a 1-0, 2-1 type of game, kind of like we talked about when we were sitting on your couch the other day. A tight game like that, a 2-1 game, I think USA can do it. Hellebuck's going to be your MVP. But just like I saw in the first game, I see this possibly getting to be a little bit out of hand, and Canada really being healthy, taking advantage of a not healthy U.S. team.
Well, and that's the interesting thing about this, Mike, is let's face it. This is one of those things that if we're being honest, this is one of those things right now that we know what happened to Brady. We know what happened to Matthew, and he sat out because he had the flu. Obviously, we all saw he didn't look exactly well to begin with. And it's huge. And this is why I say all the time, we can do all our due diligence and study everything we want in regards to Stanley Cup playoff. Okay. The one thing that I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt is it's a grind. And a lot of times it's who's the healthiest. And I look back a couple of years ago. Listen, I don't know what would have happened. Something tells me Vegas would have won regardless. Okay. Florida didn't have a chance in that series.
Right.
They were the walking dead. They didn't have a chance in this series. It is a marathon, and a lot of times it's the team that stays healthy that gets her done.
Yeah, and we got to keep an eye on how that defense is going to contain the likes of Connor McDavid. I thought Charlie McAvoy was outstanding in that first game, and I hope he's going to be all right and get back maybe this year. But without him, it's going to be a tall task. And they did. They played. The U.S. team almost played a game set, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a whole series in that game. The way the injuries came, and they're just down right now.
Yep. Henry said, by the way, my first ever OHL crossing ends of the UP and going to see the Greyhounds Friday and then Lake State on Saturday. That's a pretty cool double. You know what?
Nice.
I've been up to the Sioux doing Whaler games. I've never seen a game up at Lake State. Shame on me, especially, the wagon that Jeff Jackson had there for so many years, Mike. My goodness gracious. Ben said, Connor and net, the U.S. has more than a puncher's chance. Sometimes all you need is that hot goalie, but Makar back is scary, though. That's what makes this must-see TV. Oh, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. I just think they're trending in one direction, and unfortunately, especially when you think, you're going to add Quinn Hughes, and then that kind of falls through, Mike. It's
Yeah, that was getting questionable there, eh? And can we say congratulations to Ben? We had the highlights up there at state champs yesterday with those goals that he was scoring during the playoffs when we were doing it, and he was making the moves left and right as you were making the call. That's an inside joke, Ben. That's
right. That's right, Ben. You were part of it. I can explain that to you later, Ben. If you like, I can definitely explain that to you later. Henry, I've grown up watching Tech and NMU, but never been to Lake State. Yeah, I've been to both Tech and I've been to Northern Michigan a few times, but same thing. Never went to Lake State. Hey, let me tell you very quickly before we talk about some of the drama with the game. Did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already done what my family did and called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? By the way, I went to lunch with Dave Peabody today. Great guy, big hockey fan. Was wearing a Four Nations cap at lunch today. I'm like, I need that, and I need that now. Our friends at Legacy Partners are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents. They provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you. And yes, help save you some money at the same time. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies, which we hadn't in the past year, you're paying too much like we were, and you could be underinsured. What are you waiting for? Give the guys at Legacy a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. Call them today at 586-209-4106 or visit LegacyPartnersINS.com to get started with your new quote. Boston is a pretty cool atmosphere as well. We were talking about Montreal, and you and I had a chance to experience that. Don Cherry has said many, many times, there's nothing like game night, Saturday night in Montreal. You and I also experienced the second part of this. The noted party animal Derek Sanderson also said there's nothing like St. Catherine Street on a Saturday night. Mike and I can't talk about some of the things we saw. I can't unsee some of the things that I saw on St. Catherine Street that was actually a Friday night. But Boston obviously is a tremendous place. I've seen so many notable Game 7s. I was geeking out with somebody earlier today, Mike, about the Game 7 between the Habs and Bruins in 2014 when PK Subban said, I can't wait to go to Boston and rip their hearts out right on their home ice. and then proceeded to do
And then
the
he did.
same thing, and then did it in that moment. And the shoe to the crowd and everything. My pants were down around my ankles. It was the greatest day ever. But that is a great atmosphere with a heck of a lot of hockey fans out there as well.
Oh, yeah. I remember I went out there, shocker, Sean, for a Pearl Jam concert, which is one of the better Pearl Jam concerts that I've seen. And that crowd was incredible. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like tonight. But going around that town, that was, you'll know the year. They had were they up 3-0 or 3-1? Philadelphia, I believe. And Philadelphia came back to beat them in the playoffs. 2010. So it was 2010. I was there. And it was fresh. It was only a couple days old before I got there. And the cab ride or the Uber, whatever you want to call it, on the way from the airport to the hotel, that guy was just almost in tears talking about. The town couldn't stop talking about. It's a very passionate sports town there. So I think they're going to suck this right up, and this is going to be a great atmosphere.
That was the Halak year. I remember that year very, very well.
I know. Well, you remember all years.
Yeah, well, a little bit. Ben said, if I'm part of an inside joke, that's okay with me. Okay, Ben, I can let you in on the joke. So Mike and I are going to be doing something in conjunction with the MHSAA. It's almost like the red zone in NFL. And we're going to be watching all the I almost did the joke again. You know what joke I'm talking about. This one doesn't have anything. Yeah. We're going to be watching all the regional final games on Saturday, and we're basically going to have it like red zone. So Mike and I are going to be talking about all the games that are going on at the exact same time to find out who punches their ticket to USA Hockey Arena. So we had a bunch of highlights up on the screen, and we didn't know who the players were. So Mike and I started using the names of various people who cover high school sports. So Ben, as I recall, I think Ivasil and Moth Eric assisted on one of your goals, and then I assisted on a goal by Bill Kahn with Alex Mueller. I think that's what it was. It was so we were just making, and then Kavisto scored, and Gadwa got a goal, and Cal got a goal. So we were just, and Mike and I sometimes were 7, and we were just giggling at each other, just throwing names out there and calling different goal plays. So that's kind of the inside story. Inside story for 2. Joe in Windsor, game is going to be amazing. I can't wait. I'm not joking. Mike, I was thinking in my head the last game I was this excited about, and for me on a personal level, it was probably game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals in 21. You know, when the Habs were playing the Lightning, that was probably the last game that I was this excited for. It was phenomenal to watch with you and Coach Hunter the other night. And every time I start to think to myself, well, it can't be that good. I think, you know what I also say to myself? No, it could be better, because these guys know what they're playing for, and they know the bragging rights, and they know how important this is. And I think you add it all up, and it could be a fantastic game.
Yeah, and my excitement comes from they took everything that I was concerned about and I was kind of complaining about when we were at your house the other day and just threw it in my face. It was almost like both teams were listening to us, and they said, well, we're going to show them that this isn't a scrimmage. This isn't an exhibition. And when they put on that performance, I'm not even talking about the fights. The fights got us out of our seat. But that first period was an unbelievable first period. The second period was a good playoff period. The third period was that lockdown. It gets a little boring, but it was just a step away from being exciting. And then what is this going to be? And just knowing that roster from Canada has revenge on its mind again, like 2010, like you were saying, Sean. How can you not be excited? And I honestly, I don't care if they come out and they just absolutely trounce the U.S., but the fact that the U.S. boys have a chance to withstand what Canada is, they're talking about, you know, the country shutting down and having a problem if they lose this game to the U.S. It's going to be unbelievable. I'm actually quite envious of Sebastiano, who will be watching that game at a bar with his boys. U.S. Canada in Lindsay, Ontario. That's going to be quite an atmosphere, huh?
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Austin, I will echo this sentiment. I hate the Bruins with everything inside of me. Honestly, I can't stress that enough. Mike, you know that. I taught my dog Chelios to bark and growl if somebody said Bruins around him. I hate the Bruins, okay? But what Austin said, Boston is a great town to check out sports and to see sights. Also great food. Definitely a city everyone should visit. Bring your woman, buy her some seafood. Check out Fenway and the landmarks, good stuff. I am a history buff. If you guys did not know that about me, I'm really weird like that. It's like really weird. They have that Patriot Walk there. That's one of the coolest things I've ever. Mike, I don't even know if you and I talked about that. That's one of the coolest things I've ever done. Like basically all the Revolutionary War sites. Like think of something, and you follow these paths all through the city. It was unbelievable. What a great experience that was. I'm not joking.
And I can second that. I you know me, Sean. I could care less about any of that stuff, and your love for it amazes me. But I did that walk, and at times it even like stopped me, like in my tracks. It is amazing. And you throw in, so if you go back in the day, I'd been to San Francisco a few times. You know my love of Will Clark and the Giants. That became my favorite town to go to. That was taken over by Boston. I'll go to Boston anytime. I know you'll never want to go there. Anytime anybody would want to go there, I would drop anything to go to Boston, to go to Fenway, to go to it, just to hang out. They've got the that market there that is just unbelievable. I got one of the best smoked salmon belly bagel sandwiches, Sean. You would have loved it. As a matter of fact, I think it was the very first tweet that I ever put out on Twitter back when we were there. Like the food's amazing. Little Italy, my favorite place to hang out in. I can go there and I can go from bar to bar and restaurant to restaurant. So absolutely, it's a great place to have it. You understand why they had it there.
Eric said, what's cooking tomorrow? You know what? Unfortunately, we're not cooking tomorrow because Mike and I are like driving straight from a hockey game and racing home. So unfortunately, we're not doing that. Tim said Houghton beat Hancock 5-3. So Houghton beat up, banged up. Gremlins still found a way to knock off Hancock. International Hockey gave us the greatest skit ever, the Getloff Ryan Silver sketch. Okay. The Freedom Trail is the only good thing about Boston. Yeah, I forget, Patriot Trail, Freedom Trail, whatever it was called. It was awesome. I highly, highly recommend that. No doubt. More confident, Sean, USA Hockey tomorrow or Sparty on Friday. I don't think Michigan State matches up well with Michigan. I got to be honest with you. I don't think they match up well. So neither. How's that? When it comes time to get yourself a house, whether you're buying, selling, or both, you need to contact the right agent. Who do we recommend? Well, I'll tell you who we recommend, and you're going to see her face. Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the mean streets of Northville, and she's expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business, and when it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house, and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. You're buying, you're selling, first-time buyer, doesn't matter. Make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She will help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. I am not going to do that read as share again, Todd. That's not that. That was a one-time deal. That was it. It's never happening. Tacos and beers tomorrow. Oh my goodness gracious! Hey, how was that yesterday, Mike? I forgot to ask you. Did you like it?
Say that one more time.
The spot, the place I told you to go yesterday. Did you like it?
So I was going to go tomorrow because remember, I'm going from work to the hockey game and I'm going to have about an hour and a half to kill, but I pivoted a little bit. I found a gluten-free brewery that I'm going to hit. That's got their menu is all completely 100% gluten-free. And you know how easy that is for me? I can roll in there. I'm going to get one of their honey lagers, gluten-free. And I'm going to get, it's going to be a battle between brisket tacos or brisket sliders. I think, you know me, I'm probably going to go taco, but everything's 100% gluten-free, so I don't have to worry about it. So I did not get there.
Tim said someone asked how other sports can match the Four Nations tournament. I think we all know the answer. We all know what the easy fix is, right? And I'm going to say it again. I'm not letting the NHL off the hook. Shame on them that they left the Olympics. Okay. Shame on them that they let the World Cup of Hockey wither and die on the vine. We grew up in an era where, and I said this before, Canada Cup. Go look it up, kids. You'll be happy you did. Canada Cup was unbelievable. Mike, World Cup of Hockey every 2 years, Olympics every 2 years. Okay, we're cool.
We're set. We're good, and that's what it is. And there's nothing that any other sport can do to match this.
No.
Hockey's always been a border sport. It's since I was a kid, since our dads were kids, it's always been going from the U.S. to go over to Canada, or having Canada kids come over to the U.S. and play. And that's what this is about. And it only got, I'm going to say it only got better when the Europeans kind of chimed in and got into this. And now we have the whole world involved. Well, we will have the whole world involved. We don't have to go down the Russia lane right now, but this is what the sport is.
I grew up watching Canada Cup. Contrary to popular belief, I did not see 1972, but I remember 81. I remember 84, 87. I will go to my grave saying it's the greatest hockey I've ever seen. And even in 91, while the tournament was kind of a letdown, that Team Canada team kind of rolled everybody. Mike and you and I have talked. I don't remember if you were with me. I have a really good memory. I don't expect you to remember, but we went to those exhibition games at Joe Louis Arena, and it was awesome. It was just absolutely awesome to see all those guys. To see all those guys on the ice down there. Mitchell hooked us up with tickets, and to see all those guys down there was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, when are you going to see all those cats on the ice at the same time? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and then we did get kind of spoiled with having the Olympics and stuff like that. But again, like you said, shame on them for letting it go away, because that's exactly what it is. What you just described in 91 is exactly what we need our youth hockey players to see and feel and continue this tradition on.
That's why you want to talk about dropping the ball. The one thing that NTDP did very well, and you know this, when I was working there, is they would have these tournaments called the Five Nations or the Six Nations or the Four Nations or whatever amount it was, and give these kids an opportunity to have these games, whether it be, during the course of the season. I know the first one that we did, because I told you what Clem Costin did, blowing kisses to the crowd and everything. The first one we did was February. It was just, we took a week in February. Forget the USHL schedule. Forget what the other kids are doing. You bring your best U18s. They'll bring their best. It was phenomenal. It was incredible. And it was one of those things, Mike. It was like even Finland, Sweden at 2:00 on a Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
It was, to be in that building, it was just so stinking cool. Joe, there it is. My favorite line: Gretzky, Lemieux, and Larry Murphy. Murph, at what point in time did you realize you weren't getting the puck? Now, was it the second you jumped into the play? Did you hit center ice? At what point in time did you realize the puck was never going to be dropped to you? You did everything right, but you weren't going to touch the puck. That's just one of the funniest gosh damn things. Hubie was down at the game at the Joe as well. Late August 91. I remember the one day it was so gosh damn hot, but man, you go inside Joe Louis Arena. It was excellent. Mike, I want to get your thoughts on how this one's going to play out. We only have a few minutes, but if you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than those guys right there. That's Mike Cusack on the left, Jeff Cusack on the right. Together, they make up the Wealth Advantage Group. They're located in historic downtown Northville, and they have over 20 years of industry experience. They understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are, and that's why they offer personalized, expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell a company, you're already in retirement, doesn't matter. These guys can and will help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life and have clients in over 20 different states. As we all know, the investment world is a complex one. But if you're ready to start taking charge of your finances and taking them more seriously, it's time to work with the experts. Reach out to my buds right there, Mike Husak and Jeff Husak, the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574. That's 248-773-8574. Or you can check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. You know what's funny? Sometimes we forget, and I'm glad that you brought this up, Joe and Mike. You guys like us, Canada Cup is revered. Canada Cup 87 is, like I said, I'll go to my grave saying it was the best hockey I've ever seen. And conversely, I think a lot of people will probably say that about the Summit Series in 72. There are so many people, younger people, and even younger hockey fans, Mike, that are going, what, you mean the World Cup of hockey? No, I mean Canada Cup. No, I mean Canada Cup. Like it's phenomenal how many people like aren't aware of that rich history and just some of the classic moments you saw during that. And I thought it was great timing. It was always September. I thought that was so cool to get people fired up for the new season and everything, right?
Yeah, and the great thing about it is all we have to say is, kids, go look it up on YouTube. It's all right there. It is so easy for them to go see it, to where if you didn't see it back when we were a kid, Sean, you weren't going to see it again. Now,
No.
I mean, maybe you'd get a highlight here or there on Hockey Night in Canada, or maybe when ESPN Classic came out or something like that. But they can go back. They can go back and they can check it out. But that's what it's about. That's where it started. That's where our love for it. That's where the hatred started. Sean, this is going to be one heck of a game.
Yeah. And that was the difference between the Olympics and events like that. You got to remember, the Olympics didn't send their best. The Russians did.
Yeah, the Russians did.
Soviets did. The Soviets did, but we didn't send our best. And so when you finally got an opportunity to see the best and the best, you'd have a couple little flings. You had, the games in 79 or Rendezvous 87, but like having a legitimate tournament, oh my gosh, it was. Do you remember Rendezvous? Got our asses kicked. You remember? Got our asses kicked. That second game was bleeping brutal.
You could tell me that wasn't a rendezvous?
It was a rendezvous. Let's. Can I get a God bless the USA for good luck? Then Ray says, let's go on Canada. Let's go Canada. Cale Makar didn't play when they met. Helped USA. Will be key to a Canada's win. I think Mike and I both feel the same way. Canada Cup 87. Just look at who was cut from that team. Shows how deep Canada was. Heck, even 91. I remember people around here lost their mind when Steve Yzerman got cut. Do you remember that? Mike Keenan hates Steve Yzerman and all that. I mean, it was amazing when you think about it. Mike, all the bells and whistles aside and all the drama, and I'm sure like everybody else, you saw the back and forth between Kachuk and whoever, Brandon Hagel, whoever, it just seemed like there was all the bells and whistles aside. These guys know what it is at stake tomorrow. I expect what you just said about game or period 3 in game number 1 was spot on. It really, I'm expecting the whole game to be like that, because you can't let your emotions get away with you with the stakes this high.
Yeah, there's no way. Everything was perfect about that game, from, being in Montreal, that it was a pointless game that they knew, really, come on, they were going to play on Thursday regardless. U.S. would have beat Sweden. It had that kind of atmosphere. I've heard people even say the fact that they had NHL refs on that ice instead of international refs on that ice to call a little bit differently, that it was perfect to happen that way. And Sean, the way it happened was exactly how I didn't see it happening. And that's exactly what the U.S. needed to do to win that game. They got Canada kind of off their game a little bit. They played the U.S. game. As we said, we all took Canada the other night, but we said if it's a 2-1 game, if it's a knuckle out game, it's going to go USA's way. That's not going to go this way. Canada's not going to play those games. Hagel and Doughty and all these guys saying, I would do it for my country and rah. They're not going to do it. They're going to play hockey. That's what they're not going to let the U.S. And I just don't know if the U.S. has the legs to keep up. So this again, it could get ugly. I see it going Canada's way. Maybe the U.S. can get 4-1, 5-1 kind of game without McAvoy back there. I think it's huge. Now, where I'll be wrong is if they are 100%, Sean, and this game can be played, all 3 periods can be like the third period of the last game, U.S. stands a chance. I just can't see it.
I agree. See, this isn't like I remember 2010. There were a lot of questions about Bobby Lou at the time. Remember Bobby Lou's shaky glove, and he gave up that goal late. And I think a lot of people watching that game, I remember vividly sitting there going, "Oh, they may got him. They may have got him." And then Sid went Sid. This isn't anything like 2014. You weren't beating that team Canada. I remember telling people, I was like, look at this defense core. Canada's defense core at the 2014 games was gross. It was absolutely disgusting. And then after all that, as deep as that defense core was, there's prime Carey Price in the net. It was like, why are we even playing these Olympics? Canada's just going to run roughshod. And that's why, Mike, I bring 2010 back up for good reason. You know, the win in the prelims, but some of the questions about Canada's goaltending, because they were there in 2010. And then, as you recall, they went Operation Shutdown. And you know, they had the puck the other way, and they didn't give up a lot of chances and all that. I got to be honest with you. I think it's going to be a similar thing. I'm not saying it's going to overtime and there's going to be a golden goal or something like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was a workman-like 3-1 game or something like that.
Yeah, I think the possessions are going to be at a minimum here. I think the Canada is going to possess this puck for a majority of the game. It's going to be tough for the U.S. to get it away. As we were saying the other night, the third period, did they play dump and chase? No, they played dump and change.
Dump and change.
And I see a lot of that happening tonight, where they're just going to be getting that puck in, get it out, get it over. I just don't know, again, if they're not healthy, how they're going to sustain anything down there. They could fool us all here. I don't know, but I just, with the team Canada's bringing, and everyone's bringing up Cal McCarr, Sean, that is huge. That is monster that he is going to be back.
No,
that is just so huge for the whole game of bringing that puck into the zone, keeping possession of the puck, not having to dump it in from the defensive side. I see it just like you, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, and that I don't know how they get the one. I can't see them getting through. They had a tough time when they were healthy, but they were also containing the U.S. with McAvoy back there, getting that physical part of the game going. Some of the checks that Kachuk was throwing had us giggling like schoolgirls, like, oh my God. And I remember saying, this is not a scrimmage anymore. I can't see them being able to do that with their beat up bodies.
Yeah. All right. One more thing before we get out of here. All About Catering LLC is a full service caterer. Graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events, maybe the Four Nations final, anything you need catering for from 25 to 4,000 people. All About Catering can and will take care of you. Customer service and satisfaction is their number one goal. Rick and his gang will take care of you as they have taken care of me multiple times and many, 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 many others out there. Don't take my word for it. Go look at their reviews. Don't sweat your next big event. Just go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to see their menus and the above aforementioned 5-star reviews. Call them 586-731-1398 to get your event started. You know, the one thing that is before we get out of here, Mike and Todd, we thank you. The one thing that I always remember, and I was just thinking about this earlier this afternoon, Mike, is there's such a letdown after the Olympic Games when the NHL players were there when we come back to the NHL. Do you remember that? I just remember going, honestly, it was so amazing. Like that letdown after the break was real.
Oh, and you're not looking forward to it. We've had this before. We know what the Olympic hangover is for us sports fans. And you actually hear people talking about like how long, especially how fast these games have been. How long is it going to take us to get used to hockey? I don't think it's going to take too long.
No,
but the NHL is going to take a hit.
No doubt. Listen, Mike, always a pleasure. I'll see you at Northville tomorrow. Northville Novi. We're looking forward to that. The rest of you guys, enjoy the game. Sorry we can't live watch with you. We got crap to do. Todd, thank you. See you later. Bye-bye. God bless you.
What the Puck with Sean Baligian. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Always Pushing Forward by Elliot Middleton. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.